Hello and welcome to our report from Parliament's last plenary session in 2009. On the agenda, the conclusions of the Swedish Presidency, awarding this year's Sakharov Prize and the EU's budget for next year. The main challenge in the EU budget for 2010, adopted this week by Parliament, was to find funding for the already agreed but not yet financed economic recovery plan, which will cost the EU €2.4 billion next year.
This was the final vote on next year's budget, following lengthy negotiations with the Council of Ministers. The total 2010 budget will be over 140,000 billion in commitments and over 120,000 billion in payments. To finance the economic recovery plan, the Conciliation Committee agreed to use margins and leftovers from the agriculture and administration budgets in 2009 and 2010. Parliament wants to spend it particularly on energy infrastructure, offshore wind energy, and for carbon capture and storage to cut CO2 emissions. Laszlo Surjan emphasized the importance of this plan.
We were debating this issue a lot with the Council, because obviously spending less on Europe is also a solution for the crisis. No, it is not a solution, but it can contribute to the solution if we use the money properly. And there is big emphasis on using the money properly, because in that case the European budget is not a burden, but can partially help to solve the crisis. In this sense, we wanted to increase our competitiveness, amongst others by means of research and development programs. And we wanted to support and contribute to the common energy policy. More than 11 billion is spent on these causes. We wanted to revitalize the economy through the cohesion policy. This is a €36 billion opportunity.
Member States will also add some extra money through the flexibility instrument, which will finance support for the closure of the Bulgarian nuclear plant Kozloduy. This annual budget, like the last one, was negotiated under the Nice Treaty rules, which meant that Parliament had no formal power over farm expenditure. Nevertheless, Parliament managed to introduce a €300 million budget line to support milk farmers, an aid that MEPs have demanded for years. According to Laszlo Surjan, this was the spirit of Lisbon already influencing this year's budget process. With the Lisbon Treaty, Parliament has gained full powers over the EU budget. Mr. Surjan also had some recommendations for Member States on taking better care of the way they spend taxpayers' money.
We also need the Member States to use the allocated money more carefully and in a more targeted way in order to achieve higher growth. This is the only way to face European citizens, taxpayers, while using their money in order to operate a better and more efficient European Union.
The very last of the EU's traditional rotating presidencies is nearing its end. The Swedish Presidency has been both dramatic and groundbreaking. Measures have been taken to counter the financial and economic crisis, and the Lisbon Treaty has finally come into force, leaving the leadership of the European Council to a permanent president. On Wednesday, Sweden's Prime Minister, Fredrik Reinfeldt, concluded his presidency in Strasbourg.
I'm not exaggerating when I say it was a relief when all preparations were finalized on the 1st of December. The Treaty of Lisbon could finally enter into force. Now the European Union will be more efficient. It will have better tools to fight climate change and influence the global economic agenda. Now the new President of the European Council will ensure continuity. The High Representative will assure coordination in our external relations. Now we will have a more democratic union, with a greater involvement of the European Parliament and of our national parliaments. A new era for the European Union has begun.
MEPs gave Reinfeldt good marks for his handling of the presidency, and he seemed quite pleased himself.
With the European Council meeting last week, the Swedish Presidency has delivered on all its 5 priorities. A strong EU mandate for the climate change, follow-up of the economic and financial crisis, the EU-Baltic Sea strategy, the Stockholm programme for justice and home affairs, reinforcing the EU as a global actor, including enlargement and a new external action service. And as I said, with the Treaty of Lisbon in place, a new era has begun in the European Union.
EPP Group Chairman Joseph led the debate amongst MEPs. He commended the Swedish Presidency.
I thank the Swedish Presidency for its efforts, especially now that it is Christmas. Mr. Fredrik Reinfeldt, you have worked hard for 6 months. It was not easy, we all know that. I also wish Herman van Rompuy the best. He will take over for 2.5 years, and I ask the Council not to forget that it and the Parliament now play in the same league with a bit more transparency.
Naturally, the ongoing Copenhagen Climate Conference put its mark on the debate, and some critical voices claimed Europe is not doing enough. Both Fredrik Reinfeldt and Commission President José Manuel Barroso responded to the criticism, Barroso listing progress and underlining Europe's leading role.
And that cannot be done only by Europe, because Europe is responsible for around 14% of global emissions, and the trend is to go down in relative terms. So even if Europe tomorrow stops completely its greenhouse gas emissions tomorrow, it will not solve the problem. So we need Americans on board, we need Chinese on board, we need Indians on board. During these 6 months, together with Prime Minister Reinfeldt, we spoke with Obama. We spoke with who and when. We spoke with Singh, we spoke with Medvedev, we spoke with Lula. And I can tell you in all those meetings, we were the ones who were asking them to come with more important offers. And this is what we are now doing at Copenhagen.
Every year, the European Parliament awards the Sakharov Prize for Freedom of Thought to honour civil rights defenders around the world. On Wednesday, Oleg Orlov, Sergei Kovalev and Lyudmila Alexeyeva represented this year's winner, Russian civil rights organisation Memorial. They received their prize from Parliament's President Jerzy Buzek. To loud applause, President Buzek said it was a huge honour to present the award to the winner chosen by Parliament's Conference of Presidents in October. But he wondered what the man who both gave his name to the prize and founded the winning organisation might say.
Today is the 20th anniversary of the death of Andrei Sakharov, one of the founders of the organisation. I don't know whether he would be proud that the present-day Russia necessitates such organisations as Memorial.
The choice of winner reflects MEP's concern about the human rights situation in Russia and post-Soviet states. Threats to civil rights activists there are very real, as those present at the ceremony were reminded by the European Parliament President.
Natalia Estemirova should have been among us today, as should Anna Politkovskaya. Their killers have yet to be brought to justice.
These are just two in a long list of activists cited by Sergei Kovalev, one of the recipients of the award, killed for their work in this region of the world. Mr. Kovalev, one of Memorial's founding members, asked for those who have lost their lives to be honoured. MEPs rose to the occasion.
In recent years, more than 100 judgments have been delivered in Strasbourg in Chechen cases concerning serious crimes by representatives of the state against citizens. Yet what happens? Nothing. Russia duly pays the victims the compensation ordered by the European Court as some sort of impunity tax, refusing to investigate the crimes and punish those guilty.
Polish MEP Jacek Saryusz-Wolski, who put Memorial forward as the EPP group's candidate for the prize, pointed out that receiving the award serves to protect the winners by drawing public attention to their efforts. That's all from us for this year. We'll be back with our first report for 2010 in January. In the meantime, keep up to date by visiting eppgroup.eu. A very happy Christmas and an even better New Year. Bye-bye.